Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading Generation Hope, How Inclusive Economics Can Help Us All Thrive. Reading this for my own process of deconstructing all of the BS. And if you would like to follow along, you can get copies attached here. Disinformation, misinformation, and fake news are such serious issues that there is concern over how users will sort through fact and fiction in the coming decade, all while the term fake news is being used to discredit the truth. Make no mistake, our ignorance is being weaponized against us, and the war of information has and continues to influence democracy by swaying public opinion before it's time to vote. And it's not just public opinion and voting that's at stake. In May 2022, Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Robert Califf said, "I believe that misinformation is now our leading cause of death," naming ongoing COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy, the number of people taking ivermectin, and the prevalence of vaping as examples of the problem. Asked what keeps him up at night, he went on to say, "The proliferation of false and misleading health information, particularly online, and the distrust in institutions, data, and expertise that it has wrought." Why do we fall for fake news? In a 2019 study, researchers Pennycook and Rand concluded that people are more likely to fall prey to fake news because of lazy thinking than due to any conscious or subconscious desire to protect their political identities. Rand goes on to say, "People who believed false headlines tend to be the people who don't think carefully, regardless of whether those headlines aligned with their ideology." So how can we know what's true and what's not? In short, we must make an effort, learn to control our own flow of information, and do our own fact-checking. Over time, I've stopped reading any social media feeds. This has a twofold effect of helping me avoid content rabbit holes, known as doom scrolling, and allowing me to trust the authenticity of the news articles I seek out. I also stay away from the clickbait headlines and stick to 2 or 3 trusted media outlets that I visit from time to time. Algorithmic news is just one facet of the biggest problems our generation faces. People aren't as free to choose as we'd like to believe. We talk about being in a free market or a free society, but nearly 70% of digital ad spending goes through just 3 companies: Google, Amazon, and Facebook. These artificial monopolies get to decide for everyone what you can watch, what you can listen to, who you talk to, and who you are influenced by, and who you vote for. Our interests themselves are manipulated such that even our choices are difficult to claim as entirely our own. The illusion does not end with choice, how much a vote counts, or what comes through your news feed of choice. Wealth itself is a sham. Bezos may be one of the richest people on the planet, but like most billionaires, his actual net worth is based on shares. If he were to liquidate a significant portion of those shares in order to access their actual cash value, that value would tank, killing a lot of his net worth even as he attempted to access it. In fact, that's what happened to Elon Musk. Musk's fortune once sat as high as $340 billion in late 2021. As he attempted to access his wealth to buy Twitter, Musk saw his wealth plummet to $137 billion by the end of 2022. He became the only person in history to erase $200 billion from their net worth and is now the holder of a Guinness World Record, demolishing the previous record, a $58.6 billion loss by Japanese investor Masayoshi Son in 2000, which I think was in WeWork. What is wealth, actually? Extreme wealth is buying power and political power. Notice how several billionaires acquired media outlets, e.g. Bezos with the Washington Post and Musk with Twitter. They own their banks, too, in a different sort of way. There is a saying that goes something like this: if you owe the bank 100,000, the bank owns you. If you owe the bank 100 million, you own the bank. All billionaires owe billions in debt through their companies. It's how they became billionaires in the first place. Ultimately, wealth equals power. Billionaire Chamath Palihapitiya, an early senior executive at Facebook, SPAC sponsor, and the founder of CEO of Social Capital, says there are 150 people who control the world. If we are in the matrix, these would be the entities feeding off our energy, even in our most well-intended moments. I wanted to make millions as a pathway toward helping the poor. In 2014 to 15, I applied for and won a Grand Challenge grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to simplify mobile money. My idea was to create a calculator-like device that you could use to make payments when there was no network coverage. However, assumptions from the Gates Foundation became obstacles soon after. They were sure it would be only a matter of time before everyone had a mobile phone, though as of this writing 8 years later, that future has still not come into view. I ultimately chose to stay in the startup game, driven by a belief that making a big enough impact must start with having enough success. Read money. From a young age, I was led to believe that money was the most important indicator of success. Not by my parents, but by society at large. Story after story showed me that those who made millions would turn their attention to philanthropy, making them not only successful, but good as well. What I later learned is that our brain is divided into 3 parts. The oldest part of the brain, known as the reptilian brain, was developed about 400 million years ago and consists of the main structures found in a reptile's brain. It is located deep within our head, fitting just on top of our spinal cord. It controls our most basic functions: heart rate, body temperature, blood pressure, breathing, and balance. It also helps coordinate with the other 2 brains within our head. The reptilian brain is reliable in that regard, but it tends to be somewhat rigid and compulsive. It is in control of our innate and automatic self-preserving behavior patterns, which ensure our survival and that of our species. Whenever you hear something bad, news, danger, gossip, your first instinct is to check if that might affect you or those around you. If it doesn't, your reptile brain dismisses it. This is why we are less sympathetic to macro events than those in our immediate circle. When something does affect you, the reptilian brain sends a signal to your body: full alert. Our fears are heightened and our attention is diverted. To recall a concept from Chapter 2, after feeling the effects of the long period of austerity after the 2008 global financial crisis, slim but effective majorities of people in full alert mode voted for Brexit in the UK and Trump in the US. Around the world, more and more populists and nationalists were brought into power. People listened as politician after politician promised the moon, knowing full well that the rocket couldn't get off the ground. People believed these new leaders would increase the general welfare. It is clear now that none of them had the people's interests at heart. A slim but effective majority of people still fail to see that the leaders they voted for merely represent the interests of those with money, not the people who elect them. In this way, tweedism is alive and well. Those who control nominations control the elections, and nominations are controlled by money. This has been the biggest illusion of all, that the people in power can or will help us. Not only Johnson and Trump, but Obama and Merkel, or Gates and Musk as well. Ultimately, if that kind of power is an illusion, waiting for the elected or rich to save us isn't outsourcing our own power. It's merely outsourcing our responsibility to ourselves, to each other, and to the planet. My idealistic view is that awareness can be enough. But while explaining what happens during election campaigns should enable people to make better choices about who represents them, in reality, many people vote for the same political party for life, following in the footsteps of their parents and grandparents. Fortunately, I've also come to realize that not everyone has to change. A small number of people can make an outsized difference. In this way, the growing movement toward collective consciousness already is in direct opposition to the apparently powerful few. If money is where our attention goes, and power is concentrated around the way money is made, the solution is to turn our attention away from the reptilian brain and into our higher aspirations. After all, as Baudelaire so famously said, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The growing movement toward collective consciousness is a direct opposition to the powerful few. Their power being an illusion means our powerlessness is an illusion as well. To outsource the change, to wait for the apparently powerful to create the change we hope to see, is to relinquish our power. Next, with the myth of centralized power debunked, we can now explore an even more powerful illusion of recent times: money itself.